Hello, it is Sunday night and it is time for my mental health vlog. The week started out pretty good. We had my son on Monday until Tuesday morning. So we took him to school Monday, picked him up Monday afternoon. Ugh, driveline. Ugh. Some parents just piss me off. Anyway, and then we took him to school on Tuesday morning. And then my ex picked him up from school on Tuesday, but I enjoyed having the extra time with him. Tuesday was also Valentine's Day. My boyfriend and I have decided on making an annual tradition, something we did last year, an annual tradition, and going over to painting with a twist. Where usually on Valentine's Day they have like a couples painting where you're both painting one scene but on two canvases and from two points of view, so they connect together. We did that last year, had a lot of fun, did it again this year. We had planned on going to Madeline for dinner before painting, but one of the Valentine's gifts that I gave my boyfriend caused us to be late, to not have enough time to eat dinner before going to painting. So look into that and read what you may. But we did go to La Madeleine after and had dinner. And the reason we go to La Madeleine is because on our very first date, COVID, he picked up dinner at La Madeleine and we met at Starbucks and had dinner and coffee. So that's why that's important to us. So that was a really, really nice night. Tuesday and Wednesday, I didn't have any real work because I was doing some CE for work. So I was kind of on do not disturb at work all day. So that was nice. But I got all my CE done for the year. Oh God, thank God that's only twice a year or once every 2 years. Wednesday night, I went to my meeting. And we're continuing to read this book called Reclaiming My Life. And this particular section talks about sexual abuse and being abused as a child. And unfortunately, what that takes my brain to is something that I'm not sure a lot of people know, but I'm very open, so I'll talk about it. When I was 10 or 11, I was babysitting a son of a friend of my parents, and I hate to say that I molested the child because I was still 10 years old myself. I was still a child myself, but I did touch the child and I did things to the child that came out later and caused some issues, which of course they would. But it made me think about that child because everyone's talking about the long-term effects of sexual abuse when you are a child, and he was only 2, 3, not that old at all. That kind of haunted me later in life too, and I'll talk about that in just a minute because that's not something I talk a lot about. But I was thinking about him, so I actually went on Facebook this week and looked up my mom's profile, found the parent of the child on her friends list, and then was able to find his son through his page. And I didn't spend a whole lot of time on his page. I just honestly went just kind of glancing through and just trying to tell myself, okay, it looks like he's got a normal life. It looks like he's on the surface, as surfaced as anyone's Facebook page can really be, doing okay. And I know I was still a kid when I did that, but that is something that I've done that kind of haunted me forever, and something I really struggled with when we were adopting my son. Like, what if whatever got me to do that when I was 10 years old, what if that comes back? What if that is part of me? What if that is something that I just don't know? And I worried a lot about that, but that never was an issue again, especially with my son. No child period was ever an issue again. So but yeah, I was 10 years old when I did that. So it wasn't the fact that I was sexually abused, but I essentially sexually abused another child when I was a child. But it made me think about that. And I don't talk about that a lot, but that's part of my journey. Speaking of my son, we had him, back on Friday evening. Friday evening was okay. Saturday, he was pushing some buttons, and I mean, again, he's a 10-year-old going on, 16. He's definitely got preteen mentality and preteen attention span and preteen vocabulary, and I just want to fast forward a little bit, but this is the preteen years, and the teen years are only going to be worse. So, just having to learn how to manage those. We have him until tomorrow afternoon, where we get to take him home because he doesn't have school tomorrow. But right now he is with Grandma and Grandpa, because we had some plans this afternoon and this evening that we had made a pretty while back in advance, and weren't really able to reschedule it. We could have, but we figured this would be a great opportunity for my son to have some time with his grandparents, and he's having a ball. They've built a birdhouse, they've painted it. They're having a really, really good time. Was chatting with some friends of mine on through Facebook Messenger today. Really good friends of mine that have been friends with me since before the separation or divorce. I used the term separation in front of my son yesterday. He's like, "You can just say divorced." I'm like, "Well, technically we're not divorced yet. We're still working on the paperwork." He's like, "Yeah, I know, but it's divorce." I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll start using that word around him." Anyway, they've known me since before that, and one of them had a picture of my ex, and that he found, and we were talking about my ex, and not in a negative way, but then they started pointing out how much I had changed since being in that relationship, and they were saying things that I guess deep down I knew. One of them said that I was just, God, what did he say? A maid and a cook, not a husband. And I don't think it was ever that bad, but someone else said, it's nice to see you not have to worry about everything you say because you're afraid of pissing someone off. So it's very humbling when someone acknowledges the growth that you have gone through, and because that's a direct reflection of the work that you're doing on yourself. And that was I don't think it's possible for my friends to understand how their comments today, how good their comments today made me feel. Not because I'm like, "Oh, look at me, I'm doing progress, I'm doing great things," but it's just like, we see you. It's the change and the growth is not all in your head. It's reflecting outward. It's like ripples just flowing out from you. And I realized how accurate that really is. Like, my relationships with people are better and more authentic, and I'm more me. I like me. I like who I've become. I'm going to talk a little bit about sex. So, if that's not for you, you don't want to hear that, thank you for joining me. I will see you next week. My boyfriend and I have been trying to branch out and explore our sexual relationship. It took us a long time to get to a healthy sexual relationship spot, and we've been there, and it's continuing to get better and better as we continue to communicate and be completely open and honest about everything. Today we had some activities with another couple friend of ours, and this was not a decision that we just took lightly. It was something that I thoroughly talked about with multiple members of my group about. And, we had lots of boundaries and lots of conversation about it. So that is something that we did today. And we are still unpacking our feelings, but basically neither one of us feel that it was something of concern or an issue or something that would set up a red flag. It was just a fun afternoon with friends. And it was all very healthy. It was all very well discussed. So, I don't need your judgment. If that's not your thing, it's not your thing, that's fine. We did have a great conversation about, gay world and straight world, how the boundaries regarding how and what and who and why and when and where in the gay world are systemically different than in the straight world. And sometimes you have gay people who try to fit into the straight world, and by doing, whatever roles they feel are normal. And then you have people who just don't worry about what most of society thinks is normal, and you do what works for you, as long as it does work for you. And we are continuing to explore our relationship and our boundaries. And considering I have suffered so much with sexual anorexia, and I'm approaching anything that we do like this as completely new experience, not any kind of continuation or expansion on things I was doing in my past life before the divorce. Not like that at all. This is very, very different, and it's not something I'm concerned about, but I wanted to talk about it because it happened. And again, I believe in the full disclosure and the honesty, and this is a record of my journey, and this was part of my journey. So my new erotica business is set up, and I'm having so much fun with the designs, and I'm getting lots of traffic and activity on my Etsy shop. If I could just start to get some orders in, that would be great. But a lot of traffic and activity, so that's a lot of fun. And I'm just having a blast with it, honestly. So that's about it. That's my week in a nutshell. It was, Valentine's, so. All right. A lot to digest, a lot to process. So check on your friends, make sure they're doing okay. Check on your loved ones, make sure they're doing okay. And check on yourself. Make sure the things you're doing are okay. And make sure if those feelings change and they're no longer okay, that you're okay with communicating that, because that's important too. All right, guys, I love you, and I will chat with you all next week.